First at 4, a father's call for help leads to a heartbreaking discovery. We're following the investigation in Brighton. Ben.
Karen, we've had a few days break from severe weather, but it could be back tomorrow. Marginal risk is up. We'll talk timing coming up. Karen.
Serena Williams just did something no female athlete has done before. How she's following in Oprah's footsteps and paying it forward. All next, First at 4.
Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Drew. First at 4. We start with grief, shock, and some really tough questions after a mother and daughter are found dead in Brighton. Right now, police are calling it a murder-suicide. We're told the father of the 5-year-old girl asked officers to do a welfare check after a missed custody exchange. When officers arrived, they found the woman and the child inside their apartment.
How can I can't fathom that. You know, I'm a mother myself and grandkids and kids, my grandkids are 6, you know, just can't fathom taking their life.
Our Larry Spruill is talking with police and following the investigation, and he'll have an update tonight at 5. One man is in custody after a barricade situation in Dearborn this morning. Police say the man locked himself inside a home on Manor Street. Neighbors saw the large police presence in the area for several hours. Police would not confirm if the man was ever armed. He did eventually walk out and was taken into custody. Investigation is still going on this afternoon. Another man also in custody after a similar situation in Ecorse. Police say this one may have been a domestic incident. A man barricaded himself in a home on Josephine Street around 7:30 this morning. He was arrested shortly before noon. No injuries reported. Police are also trying to figure out exactly what happened here. Fiat Chrysler's bid to merge with Renault is already facing a rough road. Today, Renault's board delayed a vote on whether to start exclusive merger talks. The French government and the unions are raising questions about what a deal would mean for Renault's alliance with Nissan and Mitsubishi. The Renault board will meet again to discuss the possible merger. We will keep you posted. In the first forecast, hoping for a quiet night, but we might not be so lucky during the morning rush hour. So what's coming our way, Ben?
Yeah, that's when things start to get interesting towards tomorrow morning's drive. But for the rest of tonight, not too bad. There have been a couple little sprinkles showing up here on 4 Live radar. A lot of this stuff is drying out before it gets to us, but there's still a little bit more activity down here in the southwest corner of the state. So it's not out of the question that we could see a raindrop around at times this evening, but generally it's going to be mostly cloudy. Temperatures noticeably warmer than yesterday, even without that sunshine that we got on Monday. Mid-70s through the sunset hours. Then we'll start falling into the mid-60s at midnight tonight. Won't drop much farther for overnight lows, and we're going to start talking about that severe threat for tomorrow, all coming up in just a few minutes. Karen?
Thank you, Ben. In the past hour, President Trump welcomed Prince Charles and his wife to dinner at the American ambassador's residence in London. It's another big event during a summit focusing on trade, Brexit, and honoring the relationship between the two countries. Devin joins us now with more. And before the dinner, it was down to business, Devin.
Exactly right, Karen. The president moved from Monday's pomp and pageantry to more practical, productive matters today. The man who wrote the book, The Art of the Deal, had a number of potential agreements on his agenda today. He and his team met with the soon-to-be departing, in fact, very soon-to-be departing Prime Minister this morning. Theresa May leaves office later this week, having come up short on her efforts to get Britain to exit the European Union, or Brexit as it's called. The president said Brexit would open the door for the U.S. and the U.K. to work out their own trade deal, a deal he predicted would be phenomenal. While much of the world is watching the Brexit negotiation with great concern, President Trump is strongly endorsing it.
I would say, yeah, I would think that it will happen, and it probably should happen. This is a great, great country, and it wants its own identity. It wants to have its own borders. It wants to run its own affairs. This is a very, very special place, and I think it deserves a special place.
Not all Londoners agree with the president. Thousands of protesters gathered in Trafalgar Square and outside the major government buildings, venting their anger at not only the president, but his policies as well. Many of them oppose Brexit. They want Britain now to stay in the European Union. Tomorrow, the president will travel to the southern coast of England for D-Day commemoration ceremonies. So they're just sitting down to dinner right now. Karen will have more from London coming up here at 5. Back to you.
All right, we'll see you at 5, Devin. Well, the battle over abortion in Missouri remains in the hands of a federal judge at this hour. The court heard arguments today. The state has the right to interview doctors at the state's only abortion clinic. The state has denied the clinic a license to operate over that issue. That decision has been put on hold until today, pending court action. Now, if the clinic does close, Missouri would be the first state without a single abortion clinic in more than 45 years. Should more preteens be screened for a suicide risk? New research suggests the answer is yes. A new study found nearly a third of children between the ages of 10 and 12 screen positive for suicide risk in the emergency room. 7% of preteens brought in for physical complaints also showed a risk. Experts suggest it's because kids have a hard time raising mental health concerns with parents. Paula Tutman has been digging deeper into exactly what this means for families. Paula.
Karen, I just had a conversation with a young man who says he can remember contemplating suicide at 9 years old. And I said to him, what on earth could have been so bad for a 9-year-old to want to end their life? And he said a lot of things, and a lot of people just didn't listen to him.
I tried to commit suicide when I think I was 9 or 10.
Kamarian just turned 20 years old this week, and after speaking to him for just a few moments, my first thought was, what a loss if he had actually gone through what he was thinking about 11 short years ago.
We have a lot of sharp knives in our home, so I grabbed the biggest knife and I held it to my throat.
At that young age, he felt hopeless.
School was getting hard. Family life wasn't good.
He was diagnosed with a learning difference. In those days, it was called a learning disorder. He didn't feel good about himself. He'd been traumatized by a severe beating from a neighbor after witnessing something that neighbor didn't want him to see. He says his family saw that he was depressed.
She's like, your life is not hard yet, because you're young. He's like, it shouldn't be like that. But
What should she have said?
she should. She did the right thing comforting me, but she should have said, if it's not hard, take a step back. Take a step back, stop, and then let's talk about it.
At the Detroit-Wayne Mental Health Authority, experts on suicide prevention explain why signs for preteen suicidal thoughts can be so easily missed.
Prepubescent adolescent behavior and suicidal behavior have overlapping symptoms and behavior patterns.
But they explain that there are very often markers, however subtle, that can be recognized that show that a preteen could be contemplating suicide as early as 2 weeks prior to an attempt.
They will withdraw from their family, friends, activities, and not replace what they've withdrawn from with anything else.
When the child doesn't want to go to school, when the child stops, communicating on whatever the social media site is, stop socializing with their friends that they normally would talk to, that's not normal for any child. Yeah, you might not want to talk to your family at home, but you definitely still want to engage in some social activities with friends. So that's a sign.
I heard something else interesting from the experts, and they were saying that even if someone does die by suicide, or, some people say commit suicide, and there are grief counselors brought in, and there's lots of attention, a young person, a prepubescent teen, the way their brain works, and they look at all of that attention, if they are bent on, or if they're thinking about possible suicide, they will look at that as positive attention, not negative attention, and so parents really need to dial in to their child. And what's the difference between puberty and pre-puberty and depression? Karen?
There's so much to balance and to try to figure out, especially if you're a first-time parent of a preteen. I've got a question for you, Paula. You mentioned markers. What other kind of things can we look out for? You said obviously if they retrieve from the typical social scene, maybe not by their family. Was there any other things that we should be looking out for?
Karen, you know what? I was fascinated by that, and I really pressed them on that. What's the difference? What are these differentiating markers? And they said, you know what? Cue in to everything. If there's a difference in your child, ask questions.
All right, very, very important report. We appreciate it, Paula. Thank you. Well, switching gears a little bit, tennis star Serena Williams is making history in the world of business. Still ahead, what she has in common with Oprah and Marianne Ilitch of Little Caesars Pizza. Also, this emotional reunion brought to you by DNA testing. We'll talk about how this hug brings some healing after a historic injustice. But first at 4, cracking down on panhandlers on the side of the road, how one city is targeting drivers and the price they pay. These stories right after the break.